Hi there, and welcome to JTS AI Coaching for Weightlifting. This is an example video on how to navigate your sheet to make it just a little bit smoother, especially if you're using Google Sheets. The programs were made based on Excel, but Sheets can usually run those pretty well without too many issues. One thing, though, you should always remember to do is if you look at the screen, we'll be using the weightlifting example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice that it's saved, there's that green X next to it, as well as the .xlsx. That means this is an Excel file, but it's in Google Sheets, and Google Sheets can usually open Excel files without changing them to a Google Sheets format. However, for our purposes, you should always hit the three dots over on the right side of the screen and select the option Save as a Google Sheets file. This process converts the Excel sheet to a Google Sheet, and sometimes it can take a few minutes. It just depends on your phone or your system or how great your internet connection is or whatever. You can also do this with a computer. If you go into your Google Drive, you open the document as an Excel file, and then you just select the file Save as Google Sheet there. That's an option as well to speed things up. And so just convert that as you see here. It took about 30 seconds, but this will then give you your file in a Google Sheets format. This makes it more reliable so that it doesn't crash. If you don't do this quite frequently, when you open up the program, it will just immediately close again because Google Sheets is struggling to work with the Excel format. Now, what you can see here as we begin is the athlete dashboard. This is where, as you go through the program, if you happen to max on any of your ratio lifts or set new maxes, you can enter that information here. Tests are planned based on a number of factors. One, on the cycle, the intensities that are used in that cycle, as well as the fatigue that you report during that cycle. And so let's get into an example block where I'll show you a little bit more of what that means. You'll notice I'm doing a recording of my phone screen right now. I have it turned sideways so it's in the landscape format. That's going to display the program a little bit better so that you can see your information. Another thing to notice, this is the first time I've opened this file, and so it's loading block 1. Again, this is one of those Google Sheets things. Right now it's looking at the formulas and just kind of making sure that they all look correct and work since it was coded in Excel. All right, now that we're into block 1, you'll see here it starts, your snatch and clean and jerk, your most recent maxes are going to be listed here, as well as a drop-down menu that allows you to select pounds if you so prefer. It's preset to kilograms, and all of the questionnaire answers are entered in kilograms. However, if you want to use pounds or in a different gym for that day or week, you can definitely change this over, and it will simply do the calculation changes to make your weights into pounds. Now, if you pinch the screen together with two fingers, you can zoom out, and this is probably the best way to view your workouts. You can see here the weeks. This is week 1 here. It happens to be an accumulation block, which is 4 weeks long. If you scroll over to the right, you'll see it moves to accumulation block 2. But we're going to be concerned with week 1. You'll notice there's some blank space here, and the only exercise listed in this day is clean and jerk with pause at knee, and then there are some spaces, and then there are some front squats, and then supplemental work. Then if we scroll down into day 2, you'll notice there's snatch in the first column, and then another a clean exercise, and no squatting. What you'll notice is that snatches are listed first in these workouts, then cleans or clean and jerks or jerks, then snatch pulls, then clean pulls, and then squats, and then supplemental work down at the bottom. That order is going to be used. Not every day we'll use all of these, but because of the way Excel works, we have to leave space for the exercises and the workouts to be populated. There is no template it's pulling from, and so anything could show up in any of these days. So you'll just have to excuse some of the blank space. For our purposes, let's look at the clean and jerk with pause at knee. You'll notice that this is a complex, and so you'll see a weight listed, then a slash, and then two numbers, 1 plus 1. What this refers to is for each set, you would do 1 clean and 1 jerk with pause at knee for your warm-ups. Then, after you've completed your warm-ups, starting with 63 kilograms and working up to 88, you would tap on the drop down menu and you would say, how do you feel after your warm-ups? Great means you feel excited to work out, you're energized. Good means you're not feeling really sore and you're pretty okay with the workout. You're not dreading the gym. Normal would be you're kind of on that just basic training. You're kind of a little beat up, but not so much. The weights are moving, but you're not feeling completely fresh. Below average would be where you're starting to feel a little bit fatigued. You're actually feeling a little bit beat down. And bad would be like you don't want to be at the gym, you hate your life, you're questioning everything in existence and all sorts of stuff. That's a bad. You shouldn't be afraid to mark things as fours and fives, but you also should know that you need to push hard in training. This is where your own athlete psychology comes in, where if you have a tendency to always rate things as one even when you're feeling bad, you should probably try to shift the scale down a little bit and just be willing to put in fours and fives. It doesn't mean that you're cheating yourself out of gains or anything like that. The more accurate your reporting is, the better the program is going to be able to adjust. Conversely, if you're kind of one of those woe is me, sky is falling people, I know some of you don't like to admit that, but we can all be that way, and you're always talking about how you're on the grind and just beat up, well, then you might want to rate numbers a little bit more highly in general, just to fight that own psychological bent you have as an athlete. You'll notice here if I select 4 below average, that there was an adjustment of the reps that were used. This didn't happen to change the overall volume of the workout, but what it did is it made the relative intensity of each workout easier. Now it's going to be 1 plus 1 instead of 2 plus 2, which it was before. Again, I'll change that back. Oop, here we go. And you'll see here it goes to 6 sets of 2 by 2 instead of 12 sets of 1 by 1. Again, the 2 plus 2 means that you would do 2 cleans and then 2 jerks with pause at knee for your exercise. And so obviously the pause would be with the jerk part of the lift if you read that correctly. But that's the difference, and that's how fatigue can impact things. You should be, anytime you see the 3 dash normal, that's the default answer. Anytime you see that in any day of the week, you should be editing that or leaving it as it is, but just be aware that you should be editing that. Here in this next exercise, this is a good comparison, snatch from block above knee. You'll see there's just a /3. And what that means is there's 3 reps per set. And then when you go down to the straight sets, it's /3 x 8. And that means you're doing 8 sets of 3 at that weight. You'll see clean from block above knee. Below that, it's for sets of 2, and there are 10 sets of 2 for the straight sets. And basically that's it for how to read. You'll simply go through all the days. When you're done with week 1, you'll move over to week 2. This is also a good example. Just look how this is a larger week. Week 2 happens to be larger. Week 1 was a recovery kind of introductory week. And this is a good example of waves. You can see here on Snatch that there are 3 waves. Wave 1 starts at 61 kilograms, moves over to 68 with a variety of reps per set, but there's just 1 set of each of those. Then you move on to wave 2. It's really up to you if when you start the next wave, if you would, after you had gone over all the way to the left to 78 kilograms on the first wave, if you wanted to drop down to 65 and work up to 74, or if you wanted to drop from 78 to 74 to 70 to 65 and kind of do the wave as a pyramid down. Again, that's up to you. You can do whatever you feel is best for you to complete the workout without missing reps. There's a number of waves in this workout. This is actually a pretty hefty workout, as some of them are. And there are also snatch pulls, clean pulls, and some squats in this day. So those are some things to consider as you go through. Just plan out your week. You can look ahead and see what the system has planned for you. Some days are meant to be harder than others, and some weeks are meant to be harder than others. So make sure you pay attention to that. There's also the workout size as well as the fundamental working reps. That's working reps with snatch, clean and jerk, snatch, pull, clean, pull, squatting, that sort of stuff. It's not including the supplemental work in that calculation. But those are listed for your benefit as well to kind of plan through your days. One final note is about the supplemental work. You'll see that the sets are listed in a more traditional manner. Here it just says 3 sets, but it says select torso exercise, and then you see again that little downward arrow, which is actually a drop-down box. When you click on that, depending on what supplemental work is planned for that day, which is usually dependent upon how many other exercises there are for that day, you'll select whatever exercise you would like. It's a good idea to have some consistency within a given block. So if you're an accumulation block and you're doing 4 weeks of that, as we are now, maybe you would pick the same supplemental exercises for the majority of the workouts for torso exercises. Just have a little bit of consistency in your training. But on the other side, if you want to really swap it around and just do whatever feels good, you want to do, for example, back raises one day or whatever, you can. After you select the exercise, it's going to give you the appropriate number of reps as well as reps in reserve for that. This happens to be 3 sets of 10 to 12 with 3 to 2 reps in reserve. What that means is that when you get to your 10th or 12th rep, depending, you should be able to do somewhere between 2 or 3 more reps, but you're going to stop the set. Basically, you're leaving a couple of reps in the tank, and this is so that you're not working too hard. Each of the 3 sets should have the resistance or weight, or if you're doing back raises, body weight, and it happens to work out that way. You should be trying to get somewhere within those ranges, but you can see they're fluid ranges. The point is, you're not going to an all-out max here, but you're also not doing something so easy that you don't feel it. And that's kind of what 3 to 2 reps in reserve means. If it was 2 to 1 reps in reserve or 0 reps in reserve, obviously those are different protocols. The less reps in reserve there are, the more effort you should be putting into the reps that you're doing in your set. You can then, after you have completed the exercise, tap over in the cell, and then down here you see where it says enter text or formula. You can enter some text, and let's just say we did this with body weight. After you type that in, you hit the green check mark on the right side of the screen, and you can note what weights you use so that you can look back over your training logs, seeing what you've done in past workouts to see if you can improve. In general, that's how you use the sheets. I hope that you find this very profitable, that it leads to progress in your training, and that you continue to be part of our beta testing as we grow and develop new features and aspects of this program. Again, thank you very much, and I hope you have a great week of training. Blessings.